Yeah, so we call this one the Healy Hauler. It actually was made in East Germany by a company called Barkas. You can see it on the door. It's called the B1000. The 1000 refers to a two-stroke engine, which was a 998cc, three-cylinder, water-cooled two-stroke engine. And when it was new, they only converted 50 of these to be a car hauler, like you see. There were some truck versions with 3 axles, and when they converted it, they changed it to a Dacia engine, which is practically a Renault engine, a French engine. So now it's a 1200cc 4-cylinder since it was new. It's a gas engine, yeah. It's not any better, but it's got a really good hill indicator. So as soon as you see a hill in the distance, it will start slowing down for you. But that's a Bug-Eye Sprite we built. I bought it. It was in really, really bad condition in Hollywood, California. And then we brought it back to Texas, and then it took me about 9 years to build that thing. And then painted all 3 cars in front of the garage or in the garage. So nothing was professionally done. The Bug-Eye is at 1275, and we did a lot of modifications on that. We made this car to look like a race car from the 60s, so we tried not to put any kind of new parts in it. We widened the rims. It's got Dunlop racing tires from England, and then we shortened the windshield. We put that really ugly rear view mirror. I built this one out of fiberglass and foam, and then we got a machine turned dash put in.
I already got the B-roll. Well, let's
So-
talk about the Austin.
All right, let's go do it. So we call it the Healy Hauler, Mini-Me, and the Monster Healy. Okay, so this car started out as a complete wreck. Somebody parked it under a walnut tree in upstate New York in 1974. That was 1 year after I was born, and he left it there, and it was rotten to dust. It was so rotten that the wheel didn't turn. So we weren't sure what the heck to do with it. We needed a couple parts off of it for another project. So then we were scratching our head, and we were thinking, well, let's put a 302 in it. It sounded a good idea at the time. So what we really did is we bought a junkyard 302 with a Trimax transmission. We hanged it up and then built a frame around it. Went back to the same junkyard to the same car. We bought the rear end out of it, and then we shortened it down, and then Heights suspension built us a suspension to follow the size of the rear axle, which was already shortened. Then bending these ones on my knee, we basically buttoned it up with Austin Healy parts. And then went out to a car show. We had a problem with the doors because my friend lost the hinges. So I said, well, if you lost the hinges, we're just going to weld the doors shut. So if you can't get in, you're going to be too old to drive it anyway. So we went out to a car show and found the windshield off of a Corvette. We measured the Corvette windshield, and it was exact fit. So we built that in there. So here's my friend John Norwood. Come on, John. He's the reason for the season.
Yeah.
So he's from England, and he always drove these Austin Healys. When he was like, how old were you when you broke your first Healy?
Well, about 20, 21.
Okay, so at 21 years old, he was already breaking Austin Healys in England.
Well, this car is what Carroll Shelby had in mind for the original Cobra, except he wasn't allowed to use it because Healy had to deal with Austin, the Austin Healy. So he found another car very similar to this, was the AC Ace, and from that you had the AC Cobra, which eventually became a 427. So I tried to go, what Shelby was doing, a V8 and a Healy, and so I think that's probably what he had in mind, right there.
So this car was built in a 2-car garage, in my 2-car garage, and we painted in the garage and in front of the garage. And then when we had to work on the bottom, we just flipped it over. So I called safety first.
Wow. Now, what color of green is that?
It's a shade of British Racing Green, but actually there is no such color as British Racing Green. It's whatever color that green was on the day they raced it. A lot of people don't understand that. But, I had a Bug-Eye in the 90s, which I had painted one of Jaguar's shade of BRG. and so I matched this as close as I could to that shade. Actually, it's very close to Jimmy Clark's Lotus 22 that he raced in the 60s. It's in the Henry Ford Museum right now, and you will see that it's identical shade to this. So green is a funny color. You got to get it just so. Otherwise, it's not.
We
gonna
had
look
to
right.
put black primer on it to get the proper shade.
Right.
Because if you put a white or gray primer, that's going to be a different one. So, so this car has been rebuilt once. John had the privilege of beating the crap out of it. So he slid out, and then he was broken on every single side. So successfully been rebuilt again.
So what is the badge in the front?
This
Is
badge
this
here?
Austin? Or is-
That was just Austin Healey badge, you know.
Okay.
Is that you could have if you're a member of the club. You put that on there, you know.
So
This
do
one.
you race the car or you show the car? Or?
Well, I can tell you a story about this car. The actual original 1967 McLaren Can-Am car. I think Denny Holm or McLaren himself drove it back in that season. That car could not pass this on the racetrack. It couldn't do it. And the reason is because this car was acting as a pace car.
Now there you got your story.
I got you.
Thank you very much.